Good afternoon and welcome to Highland Waves podcast, originating from Marshbrook Studios, located on a bank of the world-renowned Margaree River in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, Canada. At Highland Waves, we feature stories about the people, the places, and those who come to visit us here in Inverness County. I'm Pat Wall, host of Highland Waves. This afternoon, my guest in studio is Mr. Ben LeBlanc, a local livestock farmer situated in Margaree Forks, Nova Scotia. Welcome to Highland Waves, Ben.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You come from a family of farmers, Ben.
Yeah. We're. I guess it's always been. We've always farmed. I guess at one time, maybe more just for sustainability, for food for our families. But now it's. Same thing, but more of a business and selling our products throughout. Cape Breton and some of the mainland Nova Scotia as well.
Okay, so you and Chantel, your wife, are carrying on the tradition, and you grew up helping on the farm, I would imagine, when you were a young fella.
Oh yes, yeah. We always had lots of chores and always had lots of things to do to help out for sure.
Yeah.
But it was good. Yeah. Hard work, and you learned pretty quickly that you're going to have to put your time in and your effort if you want to run something and be successful, and good people around us to help us along the way too.
Good.
So.
When did you decide to become a full-time farmer?
Well, I bought my first animals when I was 18.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I guess 26 years ago.
Yeah.
But I did earn. I had a trade. I first worked, took Marine Navigation Cadet at the Nautical Institute in Port Hawkesbury. So I worked with that for a little bit. And then I didn't know if I wanted to be at sea that much for longer periods of times. It seemed like most of the jobs you were either gone, it could be a month, 6 weeks, or 6 months. And I didn't really want that. So I decided to... I worked a bit at the shipyard in Halifax, kind of doing construction and commissioning for a company for a couple of years, and that tied me into. I studied instrumentation engineering technology at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology in Edmonton, and that was like a 2-year program, like 16-month program, and with that, after that, I had made some friends out there that they had contacted me, I guess in 2005, if I'd be interested in starting or helping out with an oil field service company situated in Three Hills, Alberta. So I did that for, I guess we started that company in 2005. And then that kind of allowed me to do both. So I'd work my winters out west, typically leave mid-October. And our winter season was an oil field service company that provided utility steam for whether it was drilling rigs or well servicing rigs. So I kind of had a window where I worked out west during that time, and then I could come back to farming once April came. Yeah.
Has farming been what you expected?
Yeah, I think, because I grew up with it. I kind of knew that
there was no surprises.
There's no surprises. I think once you got your own animals, you started to realize the finances behind it, like, the responsibility financially to maintain everything, and
of course,
and your expenses that come with that. But I wasn't surprised by the work and what it took, and the commitment that you're really you're committed 7 days a week to it, right?
That's right. You were ready for it.
Yeah, I was ready for it that way. Yeah.
So you raise beef cattle, hogs, and lambs on your farm?
Yes, yeah. We, my father kind of takes care of the I guess the pork more than I do.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we do beef. We sell beef by the quarter, by the side, or by the cut, and same thing for lamb.
Okay. You must have a lot of pasture when you have. How many animals do you have? Over 100, probably.
Yeah, I keep about. Right now, it's about 50 mature beef cows, and then with their offsprings and some replacement heifers or some feeder cattle. There's usually about 90 to 110 beef animals, and then sheep. I've cut that back actually in the last 12 months. I reduced the flock quite a bit.
Okay. Why?
So, it wasn't working financially. It was just my efforts, and I was.
You weren't getting what you were putting out.
Yeah, when you're trying to, it's like, and I have a young family and wife, and time is, you got to manage that too, right?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have your own pastures, or do you just have your own group of people who you deal with to rent property, or
yeah, a bit of both. It's probably, I'd say 70% of our own that we kind of graze through.
Okay.
And then there's a fairly big, it might be more like 40% that we would rent and use for pasture. And typically we try to hay it first.
Okay.
And then we'll graze it later.
Oh, I see.
Now certain areas you can't hay, it might be too wet, or the forage in there isn't quite right, so you might typically,
How is, with all climate change effects, how is it affecting you in that regard in terms of obtaining hay fields and, foraging ground? Is that been a problem for you?
I think feed-wise, not so much. So we're very lucky. We have the lowland, like the interval land that we use.
Okay.
And there's about 120, 130 acres there that we use. So there's good land, and it's class 2 soil. So it really retains moisture. It's the floodplain, as you know, along the river.
Yeah.
Very, very fortunate. Like, we grazed cattle last year until the first week of December, where a lot of guys were feeding hay, mid-October, and on the mainland they were feeding some in October, even August, September. So as far as one thing you noticed, like last year, was that with the fire bans, I found that kind of stressful as a farmer, because
of course
we're trying to cut hay, and you have equipment in there, you can easily create a spark.
Yes.
And I found that kind of heavy as a responsibility when choosing when to run that gear.
Yes.
So typically, last summer was the first summer that we did that. I was trying to definitely like mow the hay, cut the hay, maybe 4 or 5 in the morning. At least there's a little bit of dew on the ground.
Yes.
It felt like you had a little bit of protection,
moisture,
better than at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So climate change doesn't really, I haven't found it too much as far as like on the day-to-day operation, except sometimes moisture is a concern. So your upland fields, we have probably a percentage of our fields that we hay or we pasture is upland, and that can dry out fairly quickly, where I remember as a boy or even 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't as much of an issue, where you'd be worried that field would be dry by 1st of August.
Yeah. You also have horses on your farm, or your dad does?
Yeah. We keep 3 Belgians.
And how do you utilize those?
Well, it kind of depends. Like certain seasons are a little bit busier.
Okay.
My father, he really enjoys it. He's good at it. I think it's something he takes a lot of pride in. So he would spread quite a bit of manure with the horses in the fall. Okay. And but we also use them in the woods quite a bit. Like, we built a brand new barn in 2021.
Okay.
So we
hauled logs.
Yeah, we cut about 800 logs that winter, and they were the source of power to get everything out and back to the mill. Yeah. So it was a good project.
Yeah. And they also provide recreation at the, the annual festivities here in Margaree at the Highland Games.
Yeah, it's nice to see the animals out. I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah, they do.
So it's
Do you have hired help on your farm?
No.
No.
Just basically, like, between my father and I, and my brother's good to help if we need. It's mostly just family. But there's certain times of the years that some like putting square bales of hay in, for example. A lot of times it's just we ask some friends or cousins to come by and
come help.
My mother makes a big feast, and
oh, nice.
Yeah. It's pretty.
So it becomes a communal event.
Yeah. There's no money exchange, so I always make sure to thank those people that do help us, because it's a big job.
Well, I'm sure.
And not like they used to do, for sure. They used to put a lot more into than we do now.
Yeah.
But,
Farming is certainly not a 9-to-5 job. Perhaps for our listeners, you could briefly tell us what a typical day is on the farm in each of the 4 seasons. Let's start with spring, for example.
Spring, typically, a big part of spring is just fencing. A lot of time getting your fences up and ready.
Okay.
Like all the lowland, the interval land, that's all for the cattle, but all that fencing has to be put back up.
Oh, yes.
So it's all taken down in the winter.
Oh, really?
Every bit of it, because it floods down there. So you don't want to lose all your posts and your wire.
I understand.
Your insulators. So you typically, spring's very busy with that. Early spring, like right around now, we just finished kind of half of our cattle from calving. So that would look like, you're doing night checks, checking on the animals a lot, making sure that, the calves are out, they're on their feet, they're getting their first bit of colostrum in their bellies. The cow is healthy. She's not, issues with her udder or something wrong with the delivery.
Sure.
We might have to help her. And then obviously lambs comes too at the same time. So it's pretty busy. That's kind of your I think somebody said once to me, you really got to work hard in that season, that spring season, making sure everything's alive.
Everything's starting.
Yeah, starting. But and once summer rolls around, early summer, we might still be trying to get some, lime, wood ash, manure on the fields for fertilizing the fields. That'd be kind of late spring, early summer. And then once we roll into summer, it's trying to get our hay off. Obviously, that's a big job.
Okay,
weather dependent. And I do a lot of rotational grazing with the livestock, so I'm moving them from paddock to paddock a lot. So that's a big part of our day during the summer. Is just, I got to move that group to a new paddock, so we might shift fencing or whatever. Okay. You're always kind of fencing. Yeah. Fall, once again, you're trying to get rid of all the manure that's stockpiled from the winter. You got to get that out on the fields so you have room to stockpile the next upcoming winter. And then late fall, we're starting to process some animals that are going for market, for butcher. And then winter, in fall, you're cleaning up all those fences again.
Yes,
you're getting ready for winter. You're always preparing, or you might be doing some more weaning of animals. Like, I think we're going to get rid of that. We'll cull that cow or keep that animal. There's kind of some decisions year round, but in the fall, you don't want to go into winter sort of carrying, extra, I guess, animals that maybe they shouldn't be around anymore. Like it's not going to make sense. So, and then winter's obviously you're just kind of waiting on maybe you get a bit more projects done, like little projects, whether it's something in your barn or facilities or buildings or maintenance. Yeah.
What about equipment? Most of your work, I would assume, is done by machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there new technology coming around, or that you think you would like to have to help you out?
Yeah, for kind of what we do, I don't really feel there's much. It's not like new technology, but it could be bigger. It could cover more ground in a shorter amount of time.
I see. Okay.
But there's kind of a feedback, like it's sort of a give and take, because if you have that bigger gear, you need bigger tractors to run it, and that's just more fuel.
Sure.
Right. So most of our gear is quite old.
Okay.
But like I've been working on it since I was a boy, so I know how to fix it pretty quick. I mean, I still need help from local people, of course, but for the most part, I can kind of.
You can handle it.
We can handle it. Yeah.
Okay. What about pest control and soil control and all of that? Is that a big part of what you do?
Yeah, well, we do a little bit of that. More related. Our biggest issue right now, kind of affecting us, is the lupin.
Oh, really?
The lupin is very, very bad for livestock.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
If they consume too much, it can cause miscarriages
Oh,
in the
really?
second and third trimester of animals, right?
Really?
So they typically don't have a palate for it. Like they don't like the taste of it, the lupin,
okay.
as it stands alone. So they typically will graze around it. But what happens is it takes over. So all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you had 20 acres to graze. Now you got 15 gone. Or, you know, it doesn't take long.
And there's some big fields here in lupins.
And we lost a lot of it. So I've been trying to work a little bit with Department of Agriculture to, I guess, promote the education of it, because I think the average person in our communities don't understand that it's a problem.
No, of course not.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
We got a variety of colors and lots of, I see it all the time, especially if you're working on the intervals and stuff. People stop and taking pictures, and it's like because if the kind of old word, you know, the whole thing is you need 1 acre to raise a cow. So, well, all of a sudden, if you have a 30-acre piece, and even if you said I could keep, let's just do half, 15 cows. Well, now you can't keep, if that's growing up in lupins, you can't even keep 2 cows because they can't survive on it, right?
Okay,
so we need so that's kind of our biggest thing we're trying to control right now. And I think there's been some different counties on the mainland. I think Cumberland County had done a program about 15, 20 years ago where the municipality was on board with Department of Agriculture and the local farmers, and they worked to eradicate that lupin. Because a lot of times it's just on the individual farmers in Margaree, and it's like we're always fighting it. And then you'll see people that, and it's no offense, it's just there's no knowledge to it. They'll take a seed and plant it in their front yard. Well, that spreads,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's just a problem.
So at one time, farmers burned their properties, burned the land. Is that helpful, or is it? I don't see it happening anymore, or much more than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've never personally lit the match to start it.
Okay.
But I remember as a boy, it would happen from time to time.
It was quite frequently.
Yeah. And I think the idea was to burn off the old crop. But, I mean, I read a little bit on it. And one thing was definitely bird habitats. Like sometimes there's lots of birds nesting in there.
That's right, yeah.
And I never liked the idea of it anyway. You're just creating a hazard or a risk.
Absolutely. Especially now,
but also environmentally, you're breathing in smoke. Like
exactly, yeah.
What do we need to do that for?
Yeah.
So,
okay.
and that cover crop that's left on there, that actually is organic matter, and that's just going to work back into the soil, and
absolutely, yeah.
It's healthy.
How do you market your products?
Most of it's just been through word of mouth. I mean, we have a website. A lot of our customer base is just return customers every year. They just say, yeah, mark us down for another one next year, and don't have to work too much on it right now. We have sold some through the Cape Breton Food Hub, which they kind of do their own marketing. So yeah.
What are your biggest sellers? I know your lamb is a big one.
Yeah. I mean, I still think a lot of people in our communities here are great. They still like having their deep freezer full. So they're going to buy a quarter beef, side of beef, full lamb. Yeah. And that's, I can't say an individual cut. Well, individually ground beef. I find you're always getting people looking for ground beef. I think it's just such a staple in many homes.
Sure, yeah. The price of beef has skyrocketed lately.
Yeah.
Is that a benefit to you at this stage?
It's a good question, Pat. I don't know if it's good or bad, really. I think, this is just my opinion, I think there's, if we keep putting the price so high, and especially at the grocery store level, it might scare people from buying it, right? And we lose our customers. I know the live auction sales, which is another option. You can haul your animals to Truro, and then you get so much a pound live weight. The last 2 years it's been substantially higher, so the farmer is getting more for their product, but that middleman is still making a pile, you know, and then the grocery chain also when it goes back into the stores. But the kind of, you know, the problem in behind more than anything is just we have such a low number of cattle, and livestock in general in our country, right?
Okay.
Like our numbers are. I read something this winter around we have the same amount of cattle in Canada as we have like in the early 1960s, and look at our population compared to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So there's not a lot of animals to feed everyone.
Of course. So. And of course the land is being used for development as opposed to farming.
Which is a big problem.
That's a huge problem.
Huge problem. Very, because now I worked a little bit with a few groups, it must be 3 or 4 years ago on that topic, maybe trying to create, if the land is classified as classed as 2 or 3, it could not be developed. Like it would have to stay as ag land, so that we can. But I understand people that are retiring or selling out their farms. They want a fair market for their and developers a lot of times are going to come in.
They're looking at
more than a young farmer can afford to put on the table, right?
Yeah. There must be challenges for you getting your product to market these days. Do you have an abattoir around here?
The closest one, we use JEG Meats in Goshen, which is...
Oh, I see. So you have to take your product out to him.
Yeah.
And there's not one in Cape Breton?
No, we used to have one in like the Millville, Berdor area.
Okay.
But we used to support him, and it was a good business there as well. It's just that they ran out of... there's a few factors there. I think that...
Sure.
So we've been going up to... JEG Meats in Goshen, and also Vashrash Meats in Antigonish has helped us quite a bit too over the years. Yeah,
but certainly that affects how your product gets to the consumer, because you have costs to get it there and get it back, and then you have to pass that along. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I try to be very upfront with the customers. Like that's where my pricing's coming from, and there's a family in Port Hood area that are building an abattoir.
Oh, really?
Which is really exciting, but I've heard different stories. I heard they might not be doing custom work, but hopefully they will.
Okay.
And that'd be nice.
Yeah.
A lot less further, closer, for sure.
Certainly cut back on your costs, and of course that'll benefit your customers as well.
Yeah, and also just, it's, the more things you do closer to home, the better, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What do you think the future holds in farming?
I think it's bright. I mean, we're always going to need food, and I really think that people want, they want local food. They want, stuff close to home. They want to know where it came from.
I think that's becoming more so as well.
It is. You're definitely right, Pat. And I find there's more incentive now. I get various maybe emails from different outlets, but like food banks will say, can you donate so much? Like they're willing to pay a little bit, but they're looking for local food. Or I had another message maybe in late fall from a senior's home or a retirement home looking for more local food. So, there's no problem moving the product. Like we're very, very fortunate that way.
Oh, okay.
Like it goes, and so.
How do you find governments are helping farmers, or are they? Or could they?
Well, it's a great question. There's some good programs. Like this year, there's been a change. I'll just give it a quick example. Like it's through the Nova Scotia cattle producers. If you keep a replacement heifer, so she was born on your farm, a female, and then you said, well, I want to keep her as a mother in the future. Like they'll give you so many dollars per head. Okay. To keep that animal. Obviously, you have to have a vet check their age and a few other things.
Of course.
But that's fair. There's decent programs. A lot of it now is towards like innovation and new technology. Like they like to see people trying to do new things. But sometimes I find that's not really fair, because if you're just trying to sustain what you're doing, there might not be that many new things in your system. And you kind of just asked me, well, is new technology? Well, we still need to maintain our buildings, and you know what I mean? Like it's just part of it. And the infrastructure's so expensive. Like I know my father and my uncle, when they said in the early 90s, they got funding for a building, up I believe it was 65% was paid by the government. Well, that's a nice incentive, especially somebody new starting, because
Absolutely.
the capital you need to get going in farming is just so.
Well, I think, in my opinion, looking from the outside, I think the industry needs all the incentive it can get to get new people into it.
You're totally right.
I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you enjoy about farming most?
Oh, it's always, you're outside pretty well all the time. With every season there's different work. It's never the same. I really love it that it's a sort of family based. You work a lot with your family.
Sure.
And now that I have my own kids, it's nice that they're with me a lot of the time. I mean, they're still young, but they're learning it. A farm is alive. You're seeing new births, and then the next day you could see a death. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
And great learning for them, and I enjoy that space. And I'm sort of my own boss.
Yeah. And you're a busy people. How does your work on the farm impact your family life? You alluded to it a little bit there. You engage your family in what you do.
Yeah, and I think I'm happy to do that, and I'm proud to do that, because there's certain times it does impact. I know my wife would agree with that for sure. But like the summertime, it's long days, and or if you have a breakdown, you're trying to get things fixed, and there's rain coming, but we got a bunch of hay cut, we got to get it baled, so your time during, like, we always kind of say from the third week of June till mid to late August, it's kind of like unpredictable where I could be or when I could wear it. But the rest of the year, I mean, it's nice. I can my goal most days is to have breakfast with the family, and
nice.
So I'll get up early. Like this time of year we're calving. Well, if I check it, let's say 3, and then everything's good or something's happening, I help, but then I can get my chores done, and when they come down at 6:37, I'm back in with them. And I mean, I'm very fortunate that way.
That's
compared to I think of some people, it's my other brother, for example, him and his wife are teachers, they got to be out the door, and they got to be, they're on a schedule where I can manipulate.
A little flexible sometimes.
Flexible, yeah. But you're always committed to it. Like you can't go too far.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
What do you do for recreation?
Oh, geez, good question. I enjoy biking with the kids, going for walks with them.
Sure. Reading books.
At this age, reading lots of books. Yeah.
When I called you to set this podcast up, that's what you were doing.
Yeah, reading books. Yeah.
Very nice.
And I kind of got since my 2 girls are a little older, I took them fishing the last couple of springs.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was fun, just to, because I used to do that a lot as a boy.
Of course.
And I just hadn't touched it in so long. So
that's great.
But like getting out, taking them swimming. I like going to the river with them if I can and stuff. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for somebody who is young and wanting to get into the farming field?
Advice, it's a big commitment. It's it's in the financial side of it. You're getting by, and you're putting a little bit back in the house, but you're not you're not going to be. Yeah, it takes a lot, and it's pretty the way I like it, the way we do it, especially if you have your market, you have your customers.
Sure.
If somebody knew, if you can, whether you're doing vegetables or grain, or if you're a small scale like we are and you're selling direct to customers, you kind of have your market, so you can kind of sort of like maybe set your budget, or that where if you're taking them to churro or a livestock, it's a good way of living, and I think you need somebody that supports it if you're in a relationship, because it's a big commitment.
Well, yeah, of course.
Obviously.
The best thing to do if you're thinking about going into farming is to talk to a farmer.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just if you're anybody out there that has has land that used to be farmed or was try to keep those fields open, and because those are the options where if somebody's trying to get into farming, if there's a field that it's not all grown up in alders and trees, it gives them a good chance to get started, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
I have a hard time driving around and seeing those fields grow up that the generations before work so hard to maintain, and I understand that maybe those current owners have a lot on their plate, but hey, just pay the local guy to go and mow it every year to keep it clean.
Sure,
because like I said earlier, you can't recreate class 2 soil. You can't.
Of course not.
You need good soil to make whether it's vegetables or livestock,
prevented from growing up in trees that in turn go into a forest fire, and then everything is lost.
Yeah, and it's just the reality of the way things are, right?
Yeah.
Like it's and a lot of things now it's just take responsibility, I guess. If you
Sure.
I think maybe that's it.
Maybe you want to do you have your website at top of your head? What's your website URL is?
Ruralrootsfarms.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you want to use your telephone number, you can?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
What is your telephone number?
902-248-2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Ben. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to our listeners about farming, its joys and its challenges.
Yeah.
You provide a very important service to both the local and the community at large. I wish you and your family every success and more time for recreation, especially those reading sessions with your children.
That's great.
And thank you to our listeners. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you can stay up to date. And remember, subscribing to Highland Waves is free. Please leave a comment on our program. We want to keep improving. Our thought for today is from my grandfather, who a long time ago said to me that at least once in a lifetime I'd need a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, or a preacher. But at least 3 times a day I'd rely on a farmer.
There you go.
So long for now, Pat.